All right, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, May 20th, 2022. If you're not done so already, give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, etc. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. If you're interested in the course, you should definitely come check that out too, because with Tesla shaving 50% off of all-time highs here, got to revisit that call back in November, calling the top in Tesla, not only to the day, but to the price, given out to members a day early. And that has held up and been a monster call. So it's taken a little victory lap there. But hey, if you want to learn how I did that, come check out the course. And Tesla just getting absolutely rocked today, down almost 10% here. We talked about this yesterday. XBI here. Take a look here. Not taking out the lows. ARC, not taking out the lows. Russell 2000. Not taking out the lows. So some of these stocks that are very beaten down here are actually holding up okay, relatively speaking. Cloud software, IGV, a lot of these tech companies here. And now it's kind of like big cap, large cap tech, the Walmarts of the world, big retailers. These large cap, mega cap stocks are now the ones that are experiencing the selling here. And that's what's leading the market lower right now. What'll be interesting to see here is, do they close the spiders below this tail candle, or do they save it and open the door for a potential, rally next week? Now, again, the Russell 2000, it's another little interesting tidbit here, is this is still well off the low. So this is going to save, they are going to save this weekly candle. It's not really even close to being taken out. But on the spiders and the Qs, it is pretty much, it's borderline. We got about 40 minutes left in the trading day, so it could go either way at this point. We did kind of rally off the lows a little bit here. You can see the triple Qs on the daily hit this lower trend line, and it's getting a little bit of a bounce off of that. And look how light the volume is on the selling. There's no, I was telling members earlier, there's no real distribution going on here. Distribution happens up here. You get that heavy volume, happens near the highs. This is all short selling. So again, we talk about this all the time. There is so much fuel for a short squeeze. We just haven't gotten it yet. And, it might take margin selling. It might take, CNBC freaking out on Monday or Tuesday to really get that. But the one thing I will say, and I did say recently, and I still believe it, there is, we still have a window here for a crash to, maybe the next week or so. We're at a heightened risk of it, I would say. But even if that does happen, I don't see us getting much through maybe 365. So right in this area on the spiders, there's a good area, a good chunk of support there. Even at 360, you got the previous all-time high, this kind of area here. It's going to be good support. The triple Qs, there's a ton of support in this. I mean, you got the 200-week moving average, all this chop here. So there's lots of support we're going into. So even if we do have kind of like a flash crash-ish type scenario, I don't see the downside being that far. If we did get down to 365, from current price, that's about 5%. Well, that's really not that big of a deal, right? I mean, a standard bear market rally, just from here, a 50% move would take you back to 421. And if we did get down to, say, 365, a 50% move would take you back to 415. So really, to me, at this point, the risk is actually to the upside, at least as far as, basically we're closer to support than we are to resistance, essentially. And, we are trending down, and we're not, again, there's lots of fuel for a squeeze. We haven't seen one yet. It hasn't really presented itself, and it may take capitulation to get there. So, we could flash crash next week, maybe 1-2 days down, Monday, Tuesday, and then we finally get that V shape, that power volume surge. We need to see over 200 million shares, I think, at least. We had a good surge here at the lows, but it wasn't, you have declining volume. It's very odd to see, we had almost capitulation volume here, and it's been kind of declining ever since as price declines. So this to me says it's short selling. There's no distribution going on. The distribution took place back here, and now it's really just shorts pushing the market lower. We're at almost 330, and we've got 86 million shares traded on the spiders. With the markets getting punished like this, it's not It's not normal to see the volume that light. Now it's not light volume per se, but it's light comparatively to the price action. Anyway, so we talked about the major indices. So let's move over to the semis. So semis getting hit. They did fill the gap, but again, still not taking out the lows. So like a lot of other things, you know, they are off the lows, and we'll respect that for now. But again, if we have margin selling or something like that Monday, everything's going to come down. Dow Transport's getting hit. They did get into that. They're getting closer to that level that I was showing you guys the other day. So we got this big base here, and I believe there's a 382. There's a 382 fib right here. Oh no, so we got through that. Okay, so, well, we do have a 50% fib, a little bit lower, and then you got this long base. So again, transports, they did do a lot of technical damage this week. They got rocked really hard. So there is probably more downside in the cards, but those are going to be your areas there. That big base around 12, 12.3, and that 50% fib, those would be logical downside targets if we had some type of a flash-ish type crash. Let's look at rates. So rates, again, continuing to do technical damage. And we are going to officially close below this green bar low. We almost, they kind of saved it last week, but we closed below this green bar low and last week's low. So you've got now lower lows here on a weekly basis. It's only one, but I think we are in corrective mode here. And, logical downside would be to this 20 moving average, 20-week moving average, 2.4, 2.5, somewhere in that area, wherever it meets up. But that's kind of the range I've been calling for a couple of weeks. And I think yields are now in backing and filling mode. So we'll see what we get here. May have a little pit stop right here at about, let's call it 2.2728. And then you got the 50 moving average up sloping. So right in there, you have a little pit stop. Maybe you get a bounce. But eventually, you're probably headed back to that 2.5 area on the 10-year, 30-year. Same kind of deal. 50 moving average right in that range, 2.8. That's your downside. In the near term, high yield debt did have that engulfing reversal yesterday. So it's going to finish off the lows. So we'll see what we get next week. JNK, same thing. And then LQD, continuing to trade positively with TLT. Looking like it's going to get a daily close above that 20-period moving average. So a little bit of a small positive there for the LQD. Home builders here. So XHB hitting double bottom. Looks like they're saving that for now, but obviously in a weak technical position. ITB and VNQ also very weak here, but finishing a little bit off the lows. So again, these sectors have been really beaten up. And again, it's the large caps that are kind of leading the charge lower right now. I'm seeing XBI right now on my screen. And this is, way off the lows. It's actually bidding up nicely right now. So again, these smaller cap stocks that have already had this massive bear market, there's not that much downside left for them. And it's really big cap tech that is taking the hit right now. All right, let's talk fins here. So XLF. Going to be interesting to see if they save this low or not. But again, in a weak technical position. So financials probably have a little bit more lower, a little lower in the cards. XBD is off the lows again with HYG, which is positively correlated there. Let's move over to energy. So crude, basically kind of a non-event, really kind of quiet today. Did bid up a little bit in the afternoon and then came off the highs. Still inside of this red bar and still potentially making lower highs. So we'll see what we get moving forward. XLE, if we can get it typed in right. There we go, XLE. So XLE coming in off the highs. Did make 52-week highs again this week. We'll see what happens next week with OPEX, but nothing too new to report there. XOP a little bit on the weaker side with lower highs, and OIH also weaker with lower highs as well. Nat gas did come down a little bit, but did finish green. So kind of looking for it to possibly break 850. We'll see if it can get up there in the near term, but overall kind of a non-event going on there today. Dollar index pulling back off the highs, closing below that 20-period moving average yesterday and getting a little bit of a weak bounce today. Let's take a look at the weekly here. Yeah, so an engulfing reversal on the weekly for the dollar. So again, been saying the same thing here with the dollar. It's probably getting close to backing and filling mode, and I think that weekly candle really confirms it here. GLD, gold here. We did take profits, took 20%, over 20% on those calls I was telling you guys about. I still think there's more upside in gold, but going into the weekend, I just feel like it's safer to lock that gain in. I don't want, last thing you want is some news over the weekend and then it goes back down and now you're out of the money. In this market, you got to take gains when you get them. So no real reason to be greedy. I do like the chart though. I still think it's got upside to at least 1875 here in the short term. Look at that bull flag on the 4-hour. Nice little pattern here on the, well, there's the hourly. You can see the same thing. But the daily, nice little tail candle up move, and then a little of an inside hammer candle there. So that does probably want to move higher, but to me, the safer play here is to just get the gains off the table right now. Silver, pulling back off that 20 moving average again, just in a weak tactical position. I don't really have a trade on it at the moment. Platinum and palladium, both kind of a non-event here, and copper did come in, but it came back up off the highs here, so it's trying to close above that daily 20 period moving average. This is minor resistance, but if this can, if this can consolidate, it can make a move up here, maybe to that 4.4, 4.5 area, but we'll see what we get next week. All right, so flipping over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin did dump a little bit today, but it's still holding this low here. So again, kind of looks a lot like the ARC, the XBI, the IGV, where you had this big tail candle, this capitulation candle, and now you're kind of just up in this range here. So, it's tough. It could, a lot of the time when you get this a big tail candle, sometimes you roll over and you test the lows, and then you can move back up. But we'll see what we get here. I still think there's a lot of demand in this lower candle. So even if it does roll over, I still think you make higher lows at some point. And I think Bitcoin's probably put in some type of a short-term bottom here. And I would give it the upside bias to probably about 33, 34,000 in the near term. Unless it rolls over, then we'd probably change those numbers a bit. But I don't see it breaking down at this current stage of the game anyways. But overall, again, if we have capitulation or some type of rollover margin call thing on Monday, this will likely roll over too, but I don't think that tail candle really gets violated much, or maybe it gets violated, but I don't think it gets closed below. Anyways, so flipping back over here to the spiders. So getting a little bit of a bid now. So maybe they're going to save that, maybe they'll save that, that level here. We did make a few higher highs, and we're getting above that 20 period moving average on the 10-minute time frame. VIX is coming in a little bit, semi's coming off the low. So maybe it's just some shorts covering into the weekend too, saying, hey, look, we got a lot of gains here. We got all the way down to 380. Let me show you this. I want to show you the actual SPX. So we basically tagged this trend line, and that goes back to, here we go. So we got a weekly trend line here that goes all the way back to 2018, and that basically got kissed. So, maybe we're getting a technical bounce there. It'll be very interesting to see if they save this tail here and we rally next week. That would be very interesting, but it looks like we're getting a bid here. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for watching. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all next week.